Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for episode number 14 on the crazy adventures of Sunny and Olga.
Yeah.
In this episode, we're going to talk about pivoting when plans don't go as you plan. Yeah, when plans don't go as you plan.
Yeah.
When plans don't go as you. Oh my goodness, how do you say that? When plans don't go as you plan, like this beginning when the title doesn't go like it should.
I think that covers it.
Yeah, that does it. Yeah, that can explain like so much. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when this whole episode doesn't go as you planned.
When plans don't go as you plan. Like my kids are like, I already told you, Mom. I'm like, you have no idea how many things I'm holding in my head. Or when you call me the other night, you're like, did you cancel the hotel? And I'm like, thank you for Let's start again. Episode 14. Here we go.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to be working during this episode, and Sunny, you can take it away from here because
okay. Yeah.
Put together.
Yeah, like when things don't go as you planned and Olga needs to work during the episode. That's life. That's just life.
Yeah, so you might hear like a tap, tap, tap. I'll try to be as quiet as possible, but I am going to be looking down most of the show.
That's fine. Yeah, and people in the podcast won't know, but people for the 5 people that watch our video, they'll see you looking down. But yeah, so the reason we're covering this topic is because in our last episode we talked about all our wonderful plans going to a conference, and we were so excited to see each other. It's been 3 years, and then COVID happened, and then our conference turned virtual, so we still won't see each other. Hopefully not another 3 years. But
can we try for it not to be
can we try for like a few months?
We live 2.5 hours away, 2 hours away, so there's no reason why we cannot make it happen. We just have to put our schedules on hold.
I mean, we do see each other. We see each other like every couple weeks, or every week,
virtually, yeah.
But still, so that happened, and of course we were sad. But then we had to pivot and figure out: are we going to go? Or well, of course, I want to go because I have a free ticket and a free critique. So I kept those, and I'll attend virtually and try to make the best of it. And also, I mean, I still think I'll enjoy it and get something out of it. And but I'm sad that I won't get to see you in person. That is disappointing. But
yeah, I was really looking for that.
Yeah. But the positive is that I don't have to create a real portfolio. I don't have to have business cards printed. I was checking down the list, all the things on my list that I could cross out. And I was like, oh, this feels good. I can cross out business cards, promotional material for us and Illo Chat. I can cross out.
Oh gosh, yeah, we had
we had a long list of things. And because that was crossed out, then it gave me more time to work on other things. So that was cool. It also made them move the turn-in dates up, which was helpful. So a few pluses came from it.
And sometimes you don't know. Some things are like blessings in disguise sometimes. I had all these plans for the conference as well, like super excited about it. And I was like, oh, I'll be done with my book by then. And then some changes happened, so I had to extend my book work, and now I'm like deadlines plus the new stuff that was coming behind it. And now I'm glad that the conference is not happening. I'm not going to be going. It's going to be virtual now. I'm not going to do that. So I'm super relieved. I keep the critiques because I want to get some stories critique, but I don't.
You couldn't have done both. There's just no way.
No, just the deadlines and the Illustrator intensive. It was just going to be too much. My list was getting out of control.
Yeah. So, and you always say everything happens for a reason. Well, there's your reason.
I do. I always say everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, and nothing would have happened differently if you did it differently. It's just, I don't know. It helps me accept things the way they are. So and kind of go along with it, roll along with it. Yeah. But So yeah, everything that we started and that it's like February, and I already feel like we've been in this year for 6 months already. And it's like, no, we just started.
Yeah.
It just keeps restarting if you have to.
Well, so my book came out that I was working on, but it came out really suddenly. Like I thought, we were finished, and then they posted it online as an ebook and wanted to announce it right away before the paperback and the hardcover were approved by the printers. So it happened quite quickly, and so that was something I usually have a kind of a progression when I like to announce a book. I usually talk about it while I'm working on it, and I show progress pics and pictures, and then I show character pictures, and then when it comes out, I do an announcement. And the thing is I mean, but it's not my book. I'm the illustrator, but in the end, the author takes responsibility for the marketing, and that's fine. I like to help, but it's their baby. So
Right, they get to choose how they announce it.
yeah. So that I didn't really have any control over, and I just kind of, well, there it is, and now I'm done. Now I'm moving on.
This
So
is
yeah.
the bear book that you were working on.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's out, and if you follow me on Instagram or social media, you'll see I announced it. And I mean, I'm happy that it's finished. I mean, I'm sad. It's so weird when projects like that end, because you've been working on it for months and months and months. So then when it ends, you kind of feel a little bit of sadness, because you're like, oh, that part of me is gone. Like it's over. That predictable that it was comfortable, even though you want to finish it because you want to move on, but when it's time to move on, you feel a little bit of kind of lost. And I
Yeah,
don't
the
know.
loss. You had all your eggs in one basket, and then the whole basket just dropped, and you're like, whoa, what do I do now? Like start
Sure.
figuring
Yeah.
out what you're
Yeah.
going to do next. Same
Yeah.
thing as when plans change, and you were
Mm-hmm.
headed full speed ahead, and you had to stop and figure out, okay, do I continue? What can I salvage from this? Which we did with our conference. We picked
Yeah.
what we wanted to keep from it, and what do I do next?
Yeah. And you had a momentum built, and you were headed in a direction, and then all of a sudden, when your plans change, that momentum stops, and then you have to reevaluate and pivot and try to pick up the pieces and figure out what direction you're going in.
Yeah. So what do we do? You have um, a change in your plans. They didn't go like you expected. Um, well, we have said you can pick up the whatever pieces are left and refocus on your next project. But see what other opportunities to start a new project. Maybe that project that you have on the corner of your desk that you're like, oh, someday I'm going to get to it, or that book dummy that I have to start.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can do that. There's just change your mind to go, okay, it's a new beginning, pick something. It actually helps you to have a project going, because in idle hands just make for idle minds, I guess you could say. Like pick a new story or something to work on.
Yeah.
Kind of like find your next rock to climb, your next mountain to climb.
Yeah. Or look for an agent, or do new illustrations for your portfolio, or whatever you can fit in and start.
Or take a little break, a little rest. But this is me personally, I like rest and I like breaks, and they are important. But if I take a break for too long, it's harder for me to get moving again. It's kind of like when you stop a boulder from running. I mean, if you're pushing a boulder uphill and then you just stop, it's going to take a lot more effort to get started again. So it's a lot easier to pivot than to just stop.
And restart. Because when you're in daily habits, you build habits and you build routines, and then when you stop those routines, it can really throw you off track. So that's when big plans change, sometimes you can salvage a little bit from it. But when you're working on a project and it changes, and actually this happened for me earlier, I might have mentioned it in the bear book, the author rewrote the story after I did the storyboards because she had a better idea of the flow of the story. And that was actually challenging because I had already envisioned the book
Yeah,
in
you
a
did
specific
struggle with that.
way, and then I had to let go of those, of those ideas and redo the entire storyboard. It was still early in the process, so I can't, I'm glad it happened. I mean, it's a good time for it to happen, but sometimes though that happens when you have a manuscript yourself and you're doing the storyboard, and then you realize, oh wait, maybe this text isn't going to work the way I thought it would, because now I'm drawing I'm planning out the story with storyboard, and it's not working the same. So sometimes you have to change the text when you do the storyboard. So I get it.
Yeah, I do remember you were very excited about certain ideas for illustrations that you had for that
Yeah.
book, and then they were not
And then
accepted,
they
and
were
you were like,
gone.
oh, that's like you kind of lost the love for the
joy.
project for a little bit
Yeah.
of time until you kind of you were
Yeah.
able to get back and reimagine it the way the
Yeah.
author wanted it, and then you're like, okay, fine, I will do it this way, and then you kind of you make the best of it.
Yeah. And I mean, I
And
think that happens with any story when you submit, and then you have to work, then you work with your editor, with an editor or art director, and figure out the direction that, a better direction. You have to, kill your darlings and move on and adjust. And we were talking about like when some even if you just send your story to your critique group, or a picture book dummy to your critique group, and you get feedback, sometimes the feedback you get is not even a direction you would have considered, but it's good to have an open mind, and you don't want to take it personal, because the feedback you get may bring you in a completely different direction that's even better than you ever imagined.
yeah, try to deal with it in a healthy way. The way this is something I do. Sometimes when I get a change or something, or my deadlines change, or just things are not going the way I want them to go in a moment, or whatever it may be. Or like you said, when you get a story and this is the story that I had and it was going in this direction, and it just changes completely, that it takes me a while to get back with a new idea. I have a pity party. I text you, I go, I can't believe this, blah blah blah, I talk about it, whatever it is, get it out. But I actually do this. I email that person. I don't put the address. Don't ever put the address. And I tell my kids this all the time, and I don't know if I've mentioned it in another one. I think I have mentioned it. Go ahead and write the email that you want to write, going, I am very disappointed with this change. I can understand this, or my deadline is this. Get all frustrated in that email and get it all out there, but don't put the address, just in case you hit send by mistake.
You could just write it on a Word document.
But I write it in an email. I'm like, I am emailing this, and this is all I want to say. But then delete it. And then you will write a more mature professional email addressing the concerns. But it does help. It does help to just get it out there and just, like I think in therapy, they make you write a letter to the person you're angry with or something, and then burn it or whatever it may be. Honestly, it helps. Get it out there, write it. This is why some people journal and keep diaries or whatnot. But that's what I do. I write an email without putting the email address on it.
Get all the bad feelings out,
those feelings
all the frustrations. Get all your frustrations out, so that you can
never react
focus on the
right
good things.
away. Yeah, never react, because the first reaction that you have is just a raw emotion that, hey, you got hurt, your expectations were not met. And that takes you a second, just a beat, and then you can rethink about it, and you're like, okay, what is it that I am being asked to do? And you'll be able to do a better job at it. There's one thing about this business: things change all the time, even in your writing or in your dummies or in your final work. There's going to be edit, change, rewrite. It just is. It's just part of what this business is about. And you got to get on board with it. You really do, because if not, you're not going to be successful. and I know we often try to divide between traditional publishing, and you and I don't always agree on that. But at least if you're going to work on traditional publishing, get ready for a lot of changes, get ready for a lot of edits. Your agent's going to ask you to change things. Your editor's going to ask you to change things. Your art director's going to ask you to change things. Just work with them, work as much as you can, because it will make for a better book, a better manuscript, a better story. I honestly do think a lot of the changes at the moment might not seem like they're helpful, but they really are.
I think too, when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see the whole picture. It really is. Like you're so emotionally involved in, especially with books, when there's 32 to 40 pictures. It's a big project, and it takes months, sometimes a year or years. So it's hard to detangle yourself from that and be objective.
Yes.
It's almost,
well, you've put time, effort, money, your heart, all your work into this. So yeah, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna sting. The same thing, like for example, going back to the conference, I mean, we were making plans, and it does hurt a little bit. When I first heard that it was going to go virtual, I was like, oh. Like I was really disappointed. I'm like I'm not going to this. I was like all upset. But later on, I did. Yeah, the choice of not going was not based on I'm upset, but based on, okay, this actually worked out for me better because of all the changes that came along the way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. Well,
so,
we had our hopes up. We just were excited to finally have, because I don't think it was just that it was that conference. It was just the fact that we would get to see each other and spend some time together, and we haven't.
And we were introducing Illo Chat. It was different. This time was bigger than just us. And that's what this thing has turned out. Illo Chat. It's bigger than just you and I. There's a community behind it that and we're getting like really nice messages. I shared some of them with you. That like
I cried.
It touched me. I'm like, wait a minute, people are listening and actually enjoying it and getting something out of it, and kind of like it feels very nice, because sometimes you need a voice excuse me, a voice to kind of to keep you going along as you're working towards this, because it is kind of a lonely field to be in. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, we got a nice
well,
message.
and I think that was always our kind of our goal, because we I mean, we found each other, but we were like, it's just so nice to have someone to listen to and talk to, and spend our lonely times with while we're drawing. That's why we listen to podcasts. So
and I don't want to say lonely as in sad and lonely, because it's not, but it is a time that you have to buckle down, and it takes work. I mean, I'm working and talking to you at the same time, and I'm going to be stuttering more than usual, because you put your brain in it, and it's not just moving your hand. It's something that you get in the zone, and you don't want to be pulled out of it. So you actually get yourself into that stage where you're all alone and concentrating on what you're doing.
You need to hyper focus, so you don't want to. I think the last thing we were going to talk about it's okay. Like, so if plans change, it's okay. Or if you get feedback, it's okay to ask for clarification, because sometimes it's okay if you don't understand completely, just to ask for a little more clarification on the subject, basically.
This is like huge. Ask questions. I don't understand. Me myself, I've done it too. It's kind of like, I don't want to bother, or I don't want them to think I don't understand, or I don't want them to think I don't know what I'm doing. Ask the questions. Just say, okay, I don't really understand. Can you please show me what you want? I'm not sure. Are you able to give me an example? What exactly do you mean? And then we're going to go into some of the things that you hear sometimes. Like, for example, we're going to tackle art first, and then writing. And these are just a few examples.
So these will be some of the feedback you might hear when you're
because a lot of our listeners are pivoting. to go back to our title, into
Yeah.
author illustrators, because the field is doing that. If you are an illustrator, I urge, that's not the correct word. I seriously suggest that you look into writing as well. You might be surprised how well you do. Just give it a try.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not good, leave it in your computer. Nobody has to see it. But you might be surprised, if you are a visual storyteller, that you might actually be able to write books as well. And it will open a lot more doors to you. If you don't like it, if you hate it, then don't do it.
But it's also good
give
practice. It's
Yes.
good for you to practice your storytelling skills by giving yourself a manuscript to draw rather than using someone else's story.
I almost feel like we're doing that already when we're telling a story visually. We are talking through it. So just try. Even if you start with your pictures. I still, for my dummies, I have my mind. I write first. I write the manuscript first, which has changed because I used to first draw the drawings, the illustrations, and then put words to it. Now I do write first.
I forgot that.
Yeah, I used to the beginning, and now I do write the manuscripts first. In fact, now I have some that I don't want to illustrate, but my dummy, I divide it into, I have my storyboard, and I just plug pictures so that I know where the conflict has to come, where I have to speed it up, all of that stuff. But I cannot do that with the words. I can't just read the manuscript. I'm like, no.
Yeah, we experienced that.
Yes.
Olga helped me plan out my page breaks for the dummy I was working on. I just have to touch on this really quick.
Yeah. It's funny.
Because I was asked, I was like, do you think this would be a good spread? Or do you think I should put this here? And then Olga's like, no, you have to draw it out. You have to draw it out. And but you did, and it was really helpful. And even though it was chicken scratch, it really helped me visualize the layout. I mean, I do a storyboard, but I've always done page breaks on my Word document before I did a storyboard. And I understand now that I was restricting myself by doing that, because then I'm not visualizing it the same way when it's just the words.
Right. If you already have the manuscript done, it's the breaks are clear in it, because it's when a thought ends. Paulina was walking and picked a flower. That's one thought. Then she took it to the house, and that's another thought. And then she put it in the vase. That's another thought. So there are clear breaks in there, but visually the breaks, they're different, because you have to think when you're going to speed up the story, when you're going to slow it down, when you're going to hold that tension to
have a page turn
tension and have a nice page turn.
Yeah.
So sometimes, even if you have to break the
sentence.
It's like you were very hesitant to
I was like, oh no, I can't.
No,
yes,
you can.
I was like, oh no, I can't break a sentence from one page and put it at the end on another.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
that's your page turn, right? Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to do that. But I mean, there's no way to say that in the podcast and show it, and don't show that.
No, I'm not going to show it to anyone.
Funny.
No.
We had some fun with it, but and that was like, we were about to go pick up our kids, and we were like, okay, we got half an hour, like this. And it's not that difficult to do, but skipping that step, really, I would say doing that step helps you so much more to plan your thing. But okay, we got right.
No, I know, but I've also heard authors do that. That it's recommended for authors to do that, and I understand why. But yeah, okay. So we were going.
So what we're talking about is a storyboard. Do your storyboard. Just figure it out. It is, if it's a 32-page book, they have online, you can find a ton of them, or you can make your own. It is just a grid with the spread that you're going to have, and the pages, and then do quick little thumbnails in each. I go and do my first one, and I do my last one. I know the story has to end here. I know the story has to start here. You don't want the climax to be right in the middle. The climax is about 3/4 of the way in. So you have all your progression in it. Climax is like the moment of it's not even 3/4, it's a little past the 3/4
close to the
mark.
end.
It's
Yeah.
almost close to the end, because you want to like, once in picture books, once that the character has solved the problem, that's it, get out quickly. It's like wrap it up and go. You can't you can't drag it on, because picture books are read for small children, and that's
Yeah.
it. Like
You've lost
once
their
you gave
attention.
them, exactly, once you
Yeah.
gave them the lollipop, you're done. That's it. They don't want to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah.
The moment has changed. They're already looking at what's the next book that we're going to read.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I keep saying that I want to make a class on book dumbing, but I cannot do it as a podcast. It just doesn't work. It needs to be,
No.
and I just don't have the time right now. Maybe it'll be a summer
I
project.
think later you could plan it out and we could figure out how you would.
And have to figure out how I am going to do that. I can do it one-on-one with people, but I have not recorded myself doing it, and I think it's helpful.
It's very helpful. Yeah.
It's just maybe a quick way of figuring out how to do it.
Mhm.
All right. So if you are getting feedback that in your art that says your characters are not cute enough,
there's a lot of standard things you hear when you have to get feedback for different projects or in different clients and art directors and in critique groups. These are repetitive things that we've heard in the past. Like characters not cute enough.
Yeah, what do you do with that? Oh, it's not cute. I mean, cute means so many different things.
Subjective. Yeah.
But usually what they are referring to is there are different styles, complete different styles, and all styles work, and everybody has their own things that they like. Some people like more cartoony characters, some people like more realistic characters, but for the most part, as a generalization, in children's books, the cartoony style is more often seen for picture books. It's just what kids like. Kids like things that look like their toys, looks like their environment, or what they see when they draw something. So if someone tells you it's not cute enough, it usually means that they're looking for something a little more bubbly, a little more baby-like. So if you look at a baby, they're bigger heads, bigger features.
Eyes are bigger.
And it's not that the eyes of a child are bigger when they're born than what the problem is. The head grows as it's not a problem. That's what's happening.
True.
The head grows. Your eyes are the same size relatively. It's just your head grows. So in an adult, the eyes are smaller in the head because the head's bigger. So when you're doing a cartooning, you're exaggerating the features and you're giving them a bigger head. In reality, if you see a cartoon, they cannot stand. And if they were real people, they would not be able to stand.
Oh yeah, that's
their head would be so heavy they will flop over.
That's true.
But this is what a cute cartoon is. So you kind of try to figure out to make them a little bit more soft, chubby, kind of like you start with a bean body and then softer edges. Try lowering the features on the face to the bottom so that they have a bigger top of the head. It's just making them, those are the small changes that you can make to a character to make them cuter. Figure out hairstyles that complement the head. Don't just go with your first reaction of going plum 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 into a spiky hair, or plum 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 into curly hair. Work with it so you can give it like partitions in different areas, or that's how you change a character to try to make it cuter. I mean, those are just tiny little.
Also,
little
clothing, like cuter clothes and stuff like that.
And think about glasses or freckles or missing tooth. Look at children and look at what they look like, and then
what makes them cute. I always forget freckles. I don't know why. Yeah. Another one you hear is they're too old or they're too young.
Yes.
When you're drawing characters, because the character, so you measure characters by their head height, so how many heads tall they are. But the character height sheets online are more for realistic size characters. So if you go by that for your own cartoony children's book art, it might be off. It's going to probably be off compared to what would make it look cuter in cartoony art. So
Right.
like what head height do you normally do, Olga? 3?
Depends on how cute the character is going to
Yeah.
be. So I'm holding, see, this is a video, was just, I started doing this. So the older the character, the more heads you're going to do, just like in a normal body, but I still keep the heads bigger than what they would be in realistic proportions. But say a 6-year-old kid would probably be between 1 to 3, maybe 4, 3.5 to 4 heads high. So you have your head and you have 1, 2, maybe 3 to 3.5 heads of body, depending on the bigger the head.
But
a baby,
super cute.
a toddler, a toddler, for example, like maybe a 3-year-old. So you have about 1.5 to 3 heads, and you play with it like the same character. When I was coming up with the characters for this next manuscript I'm submitting, which you won't, nobody will see for a long time, but it's going to theater soon. It's I already knew his face, I already knew his body type, but now I wanted to see how much cuter I want to make him, or how much, it all depends on the personality of the character too.
Yeah, I think in the story.
Spicy, is he, does he have, because not all of them are sweet, adorable children. Some are, but they also have a little bit of personality in there. So that goes along with how tall and lanky or chunky or small, tall, how you make these kids. So you don't even want all of them to look the same all the time. So I had already his face established and his body type, but I wanted to see now how tall I wanted to make him. Like I remember my son, he wasn't very, very tall until he hit the teenage years, and now he's like the tallest one in this house. And I'm like, what's happening to this? He's still just as cute. It's just he's a very tall boy now.
Yeah, well, boys, usually they usually hit their growth spurt later than girls. But the same for adults. When you're drawing an adult, like the parents, you want to pay attention to their head height, and also to I didn't think about this when I wrote the outline, but like when you're drawing an adult, how can you make them look like an adult, not just a large child? I struggle with that. I do. Because I fall into the trap, not trap, but I fall into the habit of, I want to make the parents and the child look similar because I want them to look like they were the parents. And but how do you make them look different enough? And then how do you age them up, when you're drawing them, so that they look like an adult and not like just a larger version of the child that you were drawing. And some ways are like, of course, facial hair, maybe longer hair, sideburns, glasses, of course, adult clothing, and sweater vests.
So you could keep the sweater vest. You could keep, for example, the same features that the child has. If he has rounded eyes, and he has an almond shaped eye, but he's going to have bigger eyes. You can have the same almond shaped eye go into the grown up, and that's fine, but you'll make it smaller in the head. Now you got to think about, how can you age him or more? The character, grown-ups go through a lot of things in life, so they'll have extra wrinkles, but you don't have, I'm not talking about crows, the crow lines, you would only leave them for a grandparent, because as soon as you put them on a drawing, they're like, okay, boom, it just jumped in age to grandparent, because those are like the quick lines that you, the lines around the cheek, these called jowls, that I believe the things on the sides, bigger ears, those are all things that you see in older generations and grandparents. So right away, those are like, it's like quick hand for saying age. But for the parent, you can have the same shape eye, but maybe flatten the bottom a little bit, just to show a little bit more of less of that cute rounded
Yeah.
innocence that you see in a child, but a little bit more life in the grown-up. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I keep the characters side to side, and I go, okay, this is the parent of
Mm-hmm.
this one, so how am I going to make them look like they gave birth to this child, but
Yeah.
that they are grown-ups and not teenagers. It's a very slight line between making them look like the older
Yeah.
brother or older sibling and the parent.
Yeah. Especially when it's a young child. So they probably weren't, they were probably not super old when they had the young child.
Yeah, and all that stuff, like we are talking about picture books, and people might be going like, all of that goes into yes, all of that goes into it. And the characters that you finally see in a picture book are probably like the 15th version of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
How many character sheets did I show you for the faces? And I'm like, so first I establish the face. I don't know. I need to see who the character is.
Mm-hmm.
Once I see the face, then I'm like, okay, what is he wearing? How tall is he? What's his body shape and all of that?
Yeah.
But facial expressions, if someone tells you, oh, they don't seem sad enough or cute enough or happy enough,
or not
don't
showing
rely.
enough emotion. Yeah, they're just not showing enough emotion.
Don't just rely on the eyebrows and the turn of the mouth. Use the entire body to show emotion. I see this all the time where someone is just standing straight and they're just smiling or frowning, and that's it. When you're sad, get yourself in that. And I don't know, I don't know, when we are doing the illustrators meeting and we are on camera, and I'm drawing, I often find myself, I'm going like, I am making the facial expressions. Animators do that. They actually have a mirror. I
Yeah,
have a
they have
mirror
a
right
mirror.
there, and
Yeah.
I use it because then you look and you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
Put yourself in that situation and that feeling, and look at your face and look at your body language.
Mm-hmm.
You're sad. You're not just sad standing straight. You are like hunkered down. You're protecting your shoulders. You are protecting your whole body. Your body tells you an emotion. You can tell what someone's feeling by looking at their body language. So do the same thing. Change the position, change the gesture and the to show emotion, and that will help you a lot. That will help get your drawing. So when the client sees it, they're like, oh, right away, I get it. It's enough emotion.
Yeah. So really, it's not just facial expressions. That's just the whole body expression. Maybe off. Maybe need tweaking.
Yeah, and redraw it. I mean, I know it sucks when someone tells you, oh, can you redraw this, when you've done it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Save your drawing, draw it again, because sometimes just changing things a little bit in the drawing, it becomes stiff. You're better off drawing it all over again. Put it underneath in another layer. Put it in a tracing paper if you are working traditionally. Go to a window and put it on the window. This is how I used to do it before computer stuff. Put it against your window when the sun is hitting towards you, and then you'll see it, tape it, and put another piece of paper, and then draw over. Don't trace it. Draw again with that guide underneath. It will help to keep your drawing fresh instead of just getting it tighter and tighter and tighter, because every time you redraw it, it gets tighter and stiff,
Yeah.
So what other things do we
colors are not bright enough. That usually means you need pure colors, not necessarily saturated. What do you mean by pure compared to not saturated? What would be pure?
So saturated is how strong the color is. It's how much of the mother color, of the actual color is there.
So no white or black in it.
Right. Now, when they sometimes you hear, I want bright colors, and what they're referring to in reality is they want purer colors. They want blues to be blues and yellows to be yellows, and going brighter towards the lighter side of the colors. They're not often, they're not always. It's like sometimes you don't know how to express what it is. Like a client will tell you, I want happy colors. Well, I don't know. Some people like yellow. Yellow is considered a happy color, but some people hate yellow. So ask questions. What exactly do you want? Like, can you give me some examples of what you think is a happy color?
Yeah.
It's very easy if someone tells you cool and warm. because they are clearly divided in the wheel. If someone tells you, I want darker colors, well, you can have a dark blue, and you can have a dark red, and you can have a dark green, and you can have a dark brown. What do you mean by darker colors? Do you want them, you want an atmospheric, do you want a feeling behind it, like, oh, mysterious and scary and heavy and sad? Or are you just want, you know, a
or do
party
you just
room with
want dark,
balloons in the
like,
dark?
yeah, or do you just want dark, like it's nighttime dark?
Right. Or do you want to, so ask questions,
Yeah,
ask these questions when you get it, because sometimes the words are not clear as
right.
to what it is that you want or what they want, and you're trying to give them to them.
Yeah, and that's why you should definitely go over the color palette before you start with the, I mean,
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
characters. You can establish a color palette when you're doing your characters in the
And then,
beginning.
and that's lovely always, but sometimes you start with a
Sometimes
color
it changes.
tablet, and once you see it in action, then you'll
True.
be like,
Yeah.
you'll notice that in a scene, because these are not illustrations, the picture, we're talking picture books, so it is not an illustration that is going to sit in a magazine, a newspaper for the editorial, that is
Yeah.
one illustration and that's it.
Alone.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, these are characters that are going to move through our environment, and they're going to react
Mhm.
with a chair, a table, a lamp, a
Yeah.
blanket, or they're going to be outside. And if you already established that this child is going to wear a green shirt and purple pants, and he's going to be hiding in a meadow where everything is green, that's
Or
not going to
going,
work.
yeah, or like in a jungle or grassy, you know, like, yeah, a place with a lot of green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might establish your colors at the beginning, and your client might be like, oh, those are great, boom, go. And then once you're actually illustrating the story, you go, oh, wait a minute, I just picked a very bright green shirt to go sit in the middle of a sunny meadow full of bright grass. Now this kid is lost. Unless the story is about a kid getting lost in the meadow, that's not going to work for you. So then you have to go back. So it's a good idea, before you select your colors that you're going to present to your client, go through the story. Imagine what the scenes are you're going to have. Imagine the items that are going to be in that scene. Try to have an idea of the entire environment as well, so that before you select your colors and you give them to your client, so you don't have to go back and you go, hey, it's not going to work here, we're going to have to go back. Or the client looks at it and says, well, why are you only picking these colors? Or, you know, so it's just a good idea to work backwards sometimes before you give a color sample. Just little things to think about ahead of time.
That makes sense. I think we already covered, we didn't cover it. If it feels too dark or too light, you need to check your values sometimes, or same thing for lack of focus. So sometimes when you look at an image, and I see this a lot, when you look at a picture and it's, you keep your eye, we talked about it before, your eyes don't know where to focus on the picture because the values are all the same.
Yeah. So if you have like a toy inside a toy chest, and you're trying to get all those toys, you're trying to say, okay, this toy is inside the toy chest and it got lost in there. But you get the feedback that, oh, it's so busy, I can't, you can still have the same number of toys, just make them fall into the same value system, so that to the eye right away, they'll be almost invisible. It'll be a secondary read.
Yeah.
Then it won't matter. It won't matter how many objects you have in there.
Yeah, the last thing is, sometimes when you get feedback, rather than just jumping in and going ahead, it's better to check back, like make small changes and then just send it and check back, see if you're on the right track, because you maybe you misinterpreted it, or maybe you're going in the wrong direction and that wasn't exactly what they meant. And so sometimes the only way people can understand something is with a visual, like just talking things and writing it out doesn't always interpret the same way as actually seeing it.
Hey, I had to ask what the crop lines. I wasn't sure if they meant bleed lines or if they meant crop lines, because then, and I kept asking you guys, what do you guys think this means? Because I was confused halfway. Thank goodness it was the correct line that I had seen because
you measured.
I measured, and
yeah,
I questioned myself halfway through it. And I'm like, oh no, I have done half a book with these crop lines. And I was hesitant to ask because I'm like, well, I don't want to sound like, I don't know what they're talking about, but let me just double check.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. It wasn't a big deal. It was, I asked and that's it. And we moved on. It was like,
yeah.
So I don't know, like, yeah, I'm getting better at asking questions and not worry so much what people are going to think. I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just no time to worry about that stuff, honestly, anymore.
No, and I don't think that it doesn't make you look unprofessional when you ask questions.
No, I don't think so. I don't. I've asked other artists. I've had the guts to ask artists that are just completely established artists, and I'm like, hey, do you mind if I just ask you this question? And I've been surprised that they just answer. People are normal people, and just being, it's okay. Ask questions. Just
yeah.
We're going to talk about some writing. I am so happy that we're going to start talking about writing a little bit more here too, because like we said, a lot of illustrators are starting to write too, and there's something to be there's a lot to be learned about writing also.
And when you write, you're going to get feedback.
Yeah. So when you hear things like there isn't enough growth for the main character, or I don't think the character has changed enough, is what they're asking is, has the character ask yourself if the character learned the lesson that you were trying. Let me back up. Not all books have to have a lesson. Not all of them do, like, oh, this is a lesson, don't learn, don't feed the dog without checking to see if the dog is friendly first. Not always like that, but there is a struggle that the character has to go through. There has to be a storyline for it. A story has to happen. This happened, then this, and then this major thing happened, and then it got resolved. So the character has to go through some change from the beginning to the end. Either they're braver, they're kinder, they're stronger, they're smarter, they're more willing to try things. And it could be the silliest of things that children go through, like, I don't like to eat my vegetables. I struggle tying my shoes. Well, everything that is everyday life. It doesn't have to be so abstract, but you have to see if the character went through a change at the end. So ask yourself, did the solution come too easy? Was it, and then one day Tommy woke up and everything was fine. That's not going to work in a book. Tommy has to figure out how to make things fine, or,
Yeah.
So
it has to be satisfying. You have to understand how they got there.
Right. It's just a little bit harder to do in picture books because it's so short. So like in a middle grade, you have the enjoyment of going through the entire journey with this character, and then you get to the satisfying ending. In a picture book, it's like boom, 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 quick. And it's just like, wait, I don't have enough time to tell you everything that this character went through. But you have to do it in 32 pages, or even if it's a 40.
Well, and you have to get to know the character. You have to establish a connection with them just through the pictures, and it's through such a short amount of time. So you don't have as long to tell the story that you would in a chapter book or middle grade.
That's a fantastic point. You have to understand the characteristics of that character quickly. And it's not so much of an introduction, and I know I'm going out of order in some of our notes that we had here.
But it's okay.
So the introduction of the character, it's not so much, this is Tommy and he wears a blue shirt because his favorite color is blue, and that is too telling, too I don't know.
You're telling, not showing.
Yeah, this is, you can establish, you do want to show, for example, that this character only likes the color blue. And he is a creature of habit. He likes to wear blue shirts every single day. And he likes only blueberries because they're blue. And he likes, so through the action of his day, you can show what this character is without actually having to say, because you don't get an introduction.
Are you talking about my story?
What? No, yours is nothing. No, yours is
it's about blueberries. No, I was like, I feel like you're
I could not think of anything else that was blue.
It's okay. No, it's fine.
Is that really the only blue food that there is? There's gotta be more
no,
food
it's
out there.
But I was like, wait a minute, now you're giving me ideas for my story about blueberries.
Oh, great, take it. Take it. It's just I can only think of blueberries. No, is there anything else that's blue out there too?
I don't think so.
Eggplants are purple, and they're not even blue.
Blue food is not common.
It's not, right? Yeah, I can't think of anything else that is blue. But anyway, the blue shirt, the blue shoes, the blue underwear, whatever, I will only drink blue juice or blue toothpaste or whatever it may be. So you use the
visuals.
Not only the visuals, but you use the experiences he's going through to tell you his characteristics. It's like, okay, this kid has an obsession with blue. That's it. Without having to say, he is obsessed with blue and he only likes blue. You could just easily say, this, Tommy woke up and put on his favorite blue shirt and then went on to the refrigerator to eat his favorite blueberries. And by doing that, you already know, oh, wait, this character only likes blue. So and you can't take too long to get to the introduction of the character, and you have to do it in a way that tells you quickly who this character is at the beginning of the story. Boom. It's just a faster way. So they're not always easy to write. They're tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's very fun. It's a fun thing to do. I enjoy it. I don't know what else I can say about that. So I got off track. I think
it's fine. I think you kind of covered a lot of these about already just now, about did they struggle? Does the story feel too slow? No, I need to pick it up. Progression is on the book is linear. So those are sometimes that's feedback that you'll get, is the character, there's not enough growth for the main character, the story feels slow, and the progression on the book is linear. But you kind of just covered all the ways to deal with them.
Sorry, I get, because
which is fine. Well, you want the story to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But in the middle, you need to have some struggle, and then you need to have a solution very close to the end, and then you have the end and wrap it all up.
So leave room if you're writing, and it's even awesome if you're illustrating it, because then you can just talk to yourself and not have to talk to someone else. But if you need to speed up the story, that's when you use spot illustrations to say, and all of these things happen, and you have like a montage. You imagine like a montage in a movie, when Rocky, and this is a really old movie now, I'm saying I should probably get something more recent. Give me a movie that is more recent.
Oh wait, Encanto had a lot of montages.
Okay, or the very beginning in Encanto, when they're telling you the stories of all, they do it through musical. Imagine you don't have all the time to explain every single scenario, everything that your character tried. You can do it in a montage, and try to eat the blueberries.
When they're introducing the family, yeah.
So that's when you use spot illustrations to try to speed up your story. And that's when, if you're writing and there's someone else that is going to be illustrating, leave them room to be able to do that. And then it's awesome if you're the same illustrator for your own stories, because then you know what you're doing from the beginning. All right. So in conclusion to this very long.
Oh, you didn't say get help from a mentor.
Oh yeah.
And don't hesitate to ask for help. You can get help from a mentor, from critique groups, from other writers. It's better to, like we've said before, don't work in a bubble.
It doesn't make you less capable, doesn't make it really does help. I worked with a mentor, and it was very helpful. I kept asking, how come I didn't see that? And the response was, well, because I've done it a few times, and it's easier to see those little hiccups when you've done it a few times. there is nothing wrong. We're always working with someone. You're working with your critique group. You're working with, and you're taking a class. You're watching a webinar. So there is no shame in going, oh, I needed to get help for this one. Every time we write something, when you write something, you show it to me. When I write something, I show it to you. Then it goes to our critique group. Then it goes to the agent. Then it goes, it goes through so many eyes.
But that doesn't mean, but that doesn't mean you didn't write it or you didn't illustrate it. You're still taking that feedback and reprocessing it.
Right. You have to go find the right people to ask and say, is this working? Can you find, how does this sound to you? If I go up to my husband and I go, hey, what do you think? He's going to be like, I don't know. I don't read picture books, first of all. And he's like, can you move so I can watch TV? Because you know what I mean? Like, your family is very supportive. They love you, and but they are not into the same thing you're in. This is I don't know, but to me, picture book writing is a thing you're into. Like,
it's specific. It's very specific.
And it is. And I read picture books. I read them still, and I'm excited to see another one and see. It's just very weird. I wish I had more time to read, because honestly, I would love to read something longer, but I don't know, someday when I grow up, I'll be able to read bigger books. No, I can't.
I think when our kids grow up, we'll have time. We just don't have time right now.
Yeah, I say when I grow up, but we'll see.
You'll never grow up.
I won't. I count on not doing so.
So I think we're done. I think we can wrap it up.
So when things don't go as you plan.
Yeah. So when life gives I like what I wrote. I said,
go for it.
So when life gives you lemons, don't dwell on how sour and bitter they make you feel. Try to make lemonade, or at least tea with lemon.
And that's what I'm going to be like. No tea with lemon, tea with one teaspoon. No, it's 1 teaspoon of honey and half a lime. That's my
you put the whole half of the lime in there?
I do. I don't like my tea super sweet. I like it kind of like, lime is not as bitter as lemons are. Yeah. And
they are smaller.
They are smaller, and they're very juicy, and I love them when they're in season, and I'm starting to get them again, and I'm very happy. Purely in my little chat cup, my tea.
Yay!
Hey, it's decaf, so at least I'm drinking a lot of decaf tea.
And it's better to make the best of your situation rather than dwell on the fact that sometimes plans fall through, and sometimes you need to take feedback. The road to good art and good stories is paved with lots and lots of edits, which is true. I love that. Yes. No one gets where they're going without edits.
No one gets away with no edits. It's just part of this industry.
Yeah.
So live with them. And changes in schedule. Yeah. Changes in plans, and come on. Really, it's life. I mean, that's the one thing that you can count on, that it will change. All right, so that sounds good for today.
Yeah, so that's it. It's a wrap.
Yeah, leave us reviews, enjoy, share the podcast. We love to hear, love to hear that you're enjoying it, that you're listening. Send us questions. We're always available for feedback. Just email questions. We'll put them. If we get a lot of questions, we'll do another episode of questions, and we'll try to do that.
I think we're done. I said that's a wrap.
Okay.
Well, now we've just babbled on some more, so let's do a quick goodbye. So thanks for listening. Bye.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.